Construction Week listeners and viewers. This is reporter Julianne Tolentino here with Jihad Bsaibes, the CEO of AMANA Contracting on behalf of Group AMANA, an industrial and commercial design build company based here in the UAE. Thank you, Jihad, for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
So before we dive deep into where AMANA sits into the construction landscape in the region, can you tell us a little bit more about the company, its previous and current projects, highlights, as well as milestones? The floor is all yours.
All right. Thanks, Julian. Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
Look, AMANA, we've been around since '93. So we're almost 30 years old. We're known to be an industrial contractor throughout the Gulf, mostly active in the UAE and KSA, but we've operated projects all over the Gulf. The past 30 years have been very interesting, built with lots of growth in the region. The world has realized many new norms since COVID, and we definitely felt that in our business, in our segment. We predominantly build industrial projects. So with the COVID and the lifestyle changes for many people. So if you go down to basics, when we click to buy because we can't leave the house during COVID, in our world, that means a whole lot of growth in data centers, and we're constructing a few of these across the region. This means a lot of growth in distribution centers, and we're currently building large ones across the region. And equally, when you get to national security, food security, be it in agri-tech or in cold stores or distributions, also that has saw a surge in our industry. So throughout the past 30 years, I would say we have evolved to become a design-build contractor. But the past 3 years have really pushed us to be more focused and redefine ourselves to adapt to the new norms.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. And just to, go and segment into another thing, changes in the construction industry. What are your thoughts about this, and how has AMANA sort of watched the industry evolve over the years?
Great question. Over the years, construction has evolved very slowly. It's one of the oldest professions on the planet.
Yeah.
But we've been quite conventional as an industry. But in the past, I would say, in the past 10 years globally, and more so regionally, the past 5 years, there's been almost a revolution on how we construct. The speed of processing has allowed us to use 3D design that helped us to collaborate in a more transparent way between the different stakeholders, be it the end users, the designers, or ourselves. Now, being design-build contractors, we have the responsibility to collaborate in a design development. And by the use of BIM and collaborative platforms, that has allowed us to accelerate delivery of projects. And that's on the software side of it. On the hardware side of it, modular is the way. To manufacture construction is definitely the way forward. And advancement in that segment globally are shifting very forcefully. And we see that in the region. We see it both in our industrial segment and how we construct our industrial buildings by going into modular construction of segments of the building, doing them off-site and on-site, and build it in a modular manner. And the more innovative side is our DoBox division and DoPod, that we're basically moving construction from the job site to our manufacturing facility to allow us to work in parallel. So we design it, we assemble it, we ship it, and we construct it different floors at the same time.
Yeah.
That helps us significantly reduce our delivery period. So those are the big changes we're seeing.
Okay, and I'm glad you mentioned modular construction because it is definitely a new technology that's being used widely in the region, especially with projects such as the Red Sea in Saudi Arabia. So do you think this method of construction is going to revolutionize the industry? What are your thoughts about this, and how will this go forward in the future?
In AMANA's view, it's a necessity. It's a necessity for many reasons. Timelines are becoming more challenging. So projects need to be built faster, more consistently of higher quality, safer, at a competitive price. Now, given the dynamics of the region and the cost of manpower going up, and the countries themselves, the governments themselves, pushing for advanced methods of construction, it's inevitable we'll all end up there. For us as AMANA, we started back in 2010 in R&D for a modular division. And now, 12 years later, about 1.5 billion riyals worth of projects delivered, we're well into modular construction. And it's important on many fronts. One is that we're able to be consistent in what we're constructing. So as you rightfully mentioned, projects like that we've already delivered for, be it the Red Sea, be it Qadiyya, be it currently Neom, are projects that are quite ambitious in nature. And that ambition comes from their sheer size, their sheer location, and the expectations of attaining a quality product, mind you that it's in a remote area. So combining these factors together, modular construction, i.e. moving the construction site, the construction project from the site to a factory and industrializing construction is definitely the way we see being given the value to the market it deserves.
Mm-hmm. And do you think new technology that AMANA is keen on using more new technology and new methods of construction in the region currently, or is modular construction the only thing that the group and the company is looking into and trying to improve in?
Good point. Look, the way we see it, modular, it's not a technology. It's a culture. It's a mindset. It's an approach to always think in parallel. Mm-hmm. So today, when we go to sell our products, we try to translate our project more into a product that would allow the client a faster delivery. Mm-hmm. With that comes the consistency. And with that comes what AMANA is betting on in the future is the government's approach to industrialized construction. Meaning, today you go to site, you construct the site, you bring your suppliers and your subcontractors mm-hmm. and your team to site. By going into manufacturing construction, you create a manufacturing facility. And then the supply chain around that facility serves the factory itself. So somehow you're going to draw a relevance between this and how the automotive industry developed back in its early days. Mm-hmm. And that's going to give a lot of efficiency and consistency for the construction. So in our world, be it a modular project, as in DuBox or DuPod, our light gauge solution, as a full product of modularity, or even constructing our normal projects, where we think of working in parallel and assembling portions of the building away from site and putting it together at site is the way forward we see for efficient and effective construction delivery.
Mm-hmm. And also, I wanted to add on to that because modular construction is something in Construction Week we also talk about very often in terms of better health and safety for workers, just faster delivery of projects. What are some examples that you've seen in AMANA Contracting that utilize this, as you say, culture of building in the company, in your projects?
It goes without say. I mean, the less man hours you spent on site, the less safety concerns. And that's a statistical observation, not even an opinion. So for us, by taking 80% of our manpower and we're putting it in the factory under a controlled environment, you automatically cut on safety concerns, one. Mm-hmm. Second, the efficiency of production is much higher because you are in a controlled environment. So there's no inefficiency of busing our labor force to a project, starting up in the mornings, doing your toolkit talks. You get straight into your assembly and your manufacturing. Yeah. So you're spending less man hours. You're spending those hours in a more controlled environment. So inevitably, you are reducing your safety risk. You're increasing your production, and you're cutting down a lot on your waste. Because it's a controlled place. Okay.
I think that pretty much covers what I wanted to ask about modular construction. So now I think I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about something that that is being talked about in the construction industry, which is inflation. It is being seen, especially here in the UAE, in the form of higher food prices, higher gas prices, rent. How do you think this is affecting the construction industry in terms of perhaps contract prices and building material costs?
Look, it goes hand in hand. When you go modular, the key thing in being environmentally friendly, and I'll come to inflation, is first you got to reduce, reuse, and recycle. Yeah. So by going into modular, you're already reducing your wastage. So automatically your control on your cost is much higher. Yeah. And with time, you build up on these efficiencies. Now, when it comes to inflation, and that's a risk of business across all segments and all sectors. Mm-hmm. What gives us advantage in Group AMANA and in contracting is that we take fast track projects. So automatically your exposure of a differential of pricing between when you estimate the job and when you procure it is of a shorter duration. Our projects rarely exceed 18 months. So be it a design and build, so we somehow control our fate of what we're procuring. So Amana's way of mitigating it is we estimate it based on the current prices, and our duration from securing the project to procuring it is a very short duration. So we pass on the risk to the ones best suited to manage it, which is your supply chain.
Yeah.
And we pass on that value of not pricing the futures to our clients in terms of a value product.
And also, just to segment a little bit into sustainability in construction, which is a topic that's being discussed now more than ever, considering the new rules now with construction. But is Group Amana able to, follow these sustainable methods? And what are some methods that the company is looking into for the future and are currently executing?
It's in the core of our decision making. Again, it starts with reducing, reusing, recycling. So in terms of reducing, again, when you go into modular, you reduce a lot of the waste. So that's where a lot of the reduction comes in. In terms of reusing, we really invest in our logistics division that has what I would say really a world-class facility in Kizad in terms of the level of recycling and reuse of material across several job sites. And that comes from the reusing part of sustainability. And in terms of recycling on our projects, we do segregate and recycle. So in terms of environmental consciousness, that goes into our design and our delivery. And that is reflected by our projects. So we have several modular projects that have attained LEED Gold certification, which reflects the optimal level of design and delivery for a project.
So as my next question, I wanted to ask, how is, as Group Amana, as a construction company, how are you contributing to elevating the sector, especially in the region?
Look, as a conscious company, we do have the responsibility to lead. We believe we're leaders in the segments that we're in, be it industrial construction or modular construction. So with that comes, we believe, the more we're able to advance the sector, the more effective we would be as a company. And we've done that in several ways. And I'll take alignment with the Vision 2030 in Saudi. There's a lot of growth expected. So we have two companies focused on modular construction and the way we're able to deliver products in a modular manner. How is this enhancing the sector? We believe, as we move forward in life, is our factories, with time, are going to have the supply chain around them. So this ecosystem of suppliers, subcontractors, will exist where our factories exist. And with the nationalization agendas across the Gulf, it'll be, in our view, much more sustainable and effective that when you train the local talent to operate within a manufacturing environment, you're meeting that agenda. We are able to capitalize on the existing supply chain of the market to use it, to work through it, to bring in the modular solution to our clients. So the way we're delivering this volume of construction, and construction is a big component of the economy, by utilizing the local talent, lines up with the agenda. So when it comes to the sector, from a national standpoint and training of nationals, second, from using the existing supply chain and not disrupting it and competing with it. That's a second approach. And the third approach, to be able to build faster, smarter, and more consistently, we are painfully but happily trying to educate the market to accept that the construction is evolving from being a project to being a customized product. The moment it becomes a customized product, that means it goes into the logic of manufacturing with all the efficiencies of manufacturing that it has beyond construction. So I would say our biggest fingerprint we'd like to leave in this sector, if we fast forward 10 years from today, is that Group Amana has paved the way for clients to accept buying a product to be their end construction asset.
And going back, when you said about it being a product rather than being a project, do you think there are high expectations of Group Amana from clients, especially when you mention that something is a product? It's usually more concrete and more well put together. How do you approach these challenges?
It's a double-edged sword. The good side of the sword is that it's consistent and it's fast and it's effective delivery of the project. Again, there's nothing free in life. The downside of it, it's a product. So your ability to change specs in it or performance in it is limited to certain areas. Let me rephrase that to give it justice. Clients at times, when they define what they want for a project, they take the duration of the project for them to firm up exactly what kind of door they want, what kind of finishes they want, what kind of windows they want. When you go into a product, we push our clients for their own good to make those decisions extremely early in the contract, to the point where in our proposals, in an ideal case, our proposal has pre-approval on materials and designs to take away that iterative cycle of approval that delays the overall project delivery. So to get a product, you get it faster, but on the expense of faster is you have to pre-approve certain designs and materials.
So Jihad, I wanted to ask you one question, which is, how are you planning to serve the market with modularity and increase client expectation?
But when it comes to modularity, we have several approaches. We've established two companies, Dubox and Dupod. Dubox was established 12 years ago. And its mandate is to provide off-site volumetric precast buildings, completely finished product to our clients. And we've established factories in Dubai and in Rabigh, Western region in Saudi. Dupod, which is our light gauge solution, and it's a startup. We started in beginning of 2020, so in the midst of COVID. And it's been getting lots of traction. We've delivered projects in the UAE and in Saudi, be it from bathroom pods to food and beverage kiosks to actual residential and office facilities. So these are two dedicated companies by AMANA Group focused on modularity. And as I mentioned earlier, it's a culture, it's a mindset.
Yeah.
So even in our construct, which is our industrialized projects, the approach by how we erect our steel buildings, by how we erect our MEP services, again, is gone modular. So we design those in 3D, we assemble them in parallel away from the job site, and we put the project together. So in terms of serving the market, these are two different solutions, Dubox and Dupod. The way we build our own project is also by using a modular mindset in its delivery.
Just to end the discussion here a little bit, because you've talked a lot about inflation and modular construction, but overall, how is AMANA planning for the future in terms of is there any upcoming projects in the region that AMANA is working towards that we have to look out for? Or perhaps what are Group AMANA and AMANA Contracting's hopes for growth in the future?
Before I go into pipelines, because now, I mean, the price of oil is quite helpful for the region. There's lots of ambitions to diversify from oil by investing more into manufacturing, food security. In Saudi, a lot of tourism investment in remote areas. For all those are a plus for the region.
Yeah.
But for us as in Group AMANA, and what we've done over the past, since the pandemic kicked in, we kind of did a lot of inner soul searching to see how do we position ourselves. We are quite a conservative contractor, but equally we're a very ambitious contractor. So we redefined ourselves, or we found ourselves to be focused on three key segments. One is construct, and that's our industrial construction arm. The second is manufacture, and that is our Dubox and Dupod, be it our offsite volumetric concrete manufacturing solutions, or our light gauge Dupod. And our third segment is enhance, and that's basically on our solar power. And going back to reducing is the first part of environmentally being friendly, is enhancing the designs for our clients to have their power and water consumption reduced. So we kind of positioned ourselves and focused into these three lines in the region. And we're seeing on the industrial side that there's lots of diversification happening predominantly in the UAE into manufacturing. That's very clear with the government's mandate. And that's supporting a lot of the construct, plus the growth that we see in the rest of the region, predominantly in Saudi. When it comes to the manufacturer, the need in Saudi is very high. And that's driven not only by their ambition, but also by their agendas for sustainability and their ambition to build in remote areas. So we see a lot of the growth for the manufacturer division being in Saudi, plus in the UAE and the UAE's interest to export its manufacturing. But we are into serious consideration where our products here, predominantly in Dupod, that we're pushing to selling them beyond the GCC. So that's how we see the market coming in. We're very positive about the future. Definitely, there's inflation. So as a company, we need to adjust to that to best serve our clients and equally best serve our employees, our Amanians. So we are going through some transitionary time to understand the market with the inflation pressures with it. And like any business, you need to adapt and move on.
Mm-hmm. And I believe that wraps up today's podcast episode with Group AMANA Contracting. Thank you once again, Jihad, for joining us here at the ITP studios.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for the chance.
And of course, thank you for the insightful view on the construction industry, especially here in the region. This has been reporter Julianne Tolentino from Construction Week. Until next time.